The last line of defense. The Galactic Defense Council chamber hung suspended in space like a crystalline teardrop, its transparent walls offering a panoramic view of the spiral arms of the Milky Way. Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her crisp blue uniform bearing Earth's insignia, a stylized globe wrapped in olive branches. The irony wasn't lost on her. Earth's representative at the Council was its foremost weapons specialist. Distinguished representatives, she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The Void Runner threat is real, and it's worse than we initially thought. The holographic display behind her sparked to life, showing grainy footage of shadow-black ships materializing from what appeared to be tears in space itself. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. 50 different species, from the crystalline Axioni to the gaseous Saphirians, all shared the same look of concern, if their physiologies allowed for such expressions. Humanity has been called many things since we joined the galactic community, Sarah continued, her hands resting on the smooth surface of the podium. Warlike, aggressive, obsessed with weapons. Today, those very traits might be what saves us all. High Counselor Vexthor, his iridescent scales shimmering under the starlight, leaned forward. Specialist Chen, some among us remember all too well humanity's first steps into space. Armed to the teeth, practically expecting invasion. How do we know your expertise won't escalate this situation? Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Because, High Counselor, while other species developed weapons for necessity, we humans turned them into an art form. Not out of bloodlust, but out of an understanding that the universe is vast, dangerous, and ultimately unknowable. The holographic display shifted to show the latest human innovation, the quantum phase rifle. This weapon can phase through traditional shields, yet its safety systems make it impossible to fire at non-hostile targets. We've learned to make our weapons smarter, not just deadlier. The Archivalist, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient mechanical frame, spoke next. In all my centuries cataloging galactic history, I've never encountered a species quite like humans. You create weapons even in times of peace, yet you've never used them for conquest within the Council's territories. That's because we understand something fundamental about weapons, Sarah replied, bringing up a new hologram. This one showing the history of human warfare, from spears to space-based defense systems. They're tools of preservation as much as destruction. Every human weapon ever created carries with it the weight of responsibility. The chamber grew quiet as Sarah initiated a classified feed. 3 days ago, we lost contact with the Epsilon outpost. When our recovery team arrived, they found this. The footage showed a station torn apart from the inside out, reality itself seeming to warp and bend around the point of attack. The Void Runners aren't just raiders or pirates. They're wielding technology that violates the fundamental laws of physics as we understand them. And they're getting bolder. Sarah's voice carried across the chamber with quiet intensity. Earth's weapons development programs have been preparing for a threat like this since before we knew it existed. Not because we're warmongers, but because we never forgot a simple truth. The universe is infinite, and somewhere out there, something is always hungry. High Counselor Vexthor's scales had darkened, a sign of deep concern among his species. What are you proposing, Specialist Chen? A joint defense initiative. Humanity's weapons expertise combined with the unique capabilities of every council species. The Void Runners think they can tear reality apart to get what they want. I say we show them that reality bites back. As she concluded her presentation, Sarah could feel the mood in the chamber shifting. Fear remained, but now it was tempered with something else. Hope. The same hope that had driven humans to create weapons even in times of peace, not out of paranoia, but out of an understanding that being prepared didn't mean being aggressive. The council chamber erupted in discussion, and Sarah knew the seeds had been planted. Humanity's relationship with weapons had always been complex, but now it might be the galaxy's best hope for survival. As she gathered her materials, a message flashed across her neural implant. Another Void Runner attack. this time closer to populated space. The war was coming, whether the Council was ready or not. But for the first time since the attacks began, Sarah felt confident. Humans hadn't spent millennia perfecting the art of warfare just to let some extra-dimensional raiders tear apart the peace they'd helped build. The real question wasn't whether humanity's weapons could stop the Void Runners. The question was whether the galaxy was ready to embrace humanity's martial philosophy: peace through preparedness, strength through responsibility, and above all, the understanding that sometimes the best way to prevent a fight is to be really, really good at fighting. As she left the chamber, Sarah smiled. The Void Runners were about to learn why humans were the only species in the galaxy that had turned weapons development into an art form. And art, as any human could tell you, had a way of changing the world. Or in this case, saving it. The arms race. The research facility on Luna Base Alpha hummed with activity. Sarah Chen stood before a massive holographic display, watching as teams of humans and aliens worked together on what might be the galaxy's last hope. The Quantum Integration Lab was a testament to what could happen when humanity's weapons expertise met alien innovation. "Fascinating," chirped Dr. Kist, his insectoid mandibles clicking with excitement. "Your species' understanding of kinetic energy manipulation is remarkably intuitive." The Arxian scientist was studying the internal mechanisms of a traditional human railgun, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic schematics. "We had to be intuitive," Sarah replied, bringing up historical footage of Earth's military evolution. "Our planet forced us to adapt constantly. When you live on a death world, you either get creative or you don't survive." The facility shook slightly as another test firing commenced in the underground range. The Joint Research Initiative had been running for 3 months now, and progress was exceeding all expectations. Human weapon designs were being enhanced by Zephyrian phase technology, Axioni crystal focusing arrays, and dozens of other alien innovations. But time wasn't on their side. Reports of Void Runner attacks were increasing, each one more devastating than the last. The latest incident had left an entire mining colony as nothing but twisted wreckage, reality itself scared by their weapons. Dr. Chen, a young human researcher, burst into the room, his eyes wide with excitement. "The Ancient Archives team found something. You need to see this." The discovery changed everything. Deep in the crystalline memory banks of the archivalists' records, they found evidence that humanity wasn't the first species to walk the path of weapons mastery. An ancient civilization, long extinct, had once created arms so powerful they could reshape reality itself. The same technology the Void Runners were now using. As Sarah studied the ancient data, a chilling realization dawned. The Void Runners weren't invaders from another dimension. They were running from something worse. The price of power. The Galactic Defense Council was in chaos. The revelation about the Void Runners had split the assembly into factions. Some demanded immediate military action, others called for attempts at communication, and a vocal minority insisted on surrender. "We cannot simply build bigger guns and hope for the best." The Pacifist Coalition representative's hologram flickered with agitation. "History shows us where that path leads." Sarah stood calmly at the podium, her expression resolute. "History shows us many things, Ambassador. It shows us that weapons don't start wars. Fear, desperation, and misunderstanding do. What we're developing isn't just firearms and energy weapons. We're creating understanding." The research teams had made breakthrough after breakthrough, not just in weapons technology, but in comprehending the fundamental nature of reality itself. The ancient civilization's weapons weren't tools of destruction. They were keys to understanding the universe's deepest mysteries. But with each discovery came harder questions. The power to reshape reality itself. Should any species wield it? Sarah found herself lying awake at night, wrestling with the implications. Humanity had always walked a fine line with its weapons development. Now that line was becoming impossibly thin. Breaking point. The Void Runners struck Earth first. They appeared without warning, their reality-warping ships tearing holes in space above every major city. But humanity wasn't caught unprepared. Quantum phase rifles powered by Axioni crystals met them in the skies. Reality anchoring fields developed with Zephyrian technology prevented their spatial distortion weapons from functioning. For the first time, the Void Runners faced an enemy that didn't just fight back, but understood how they fought. Sarah coordinated the defense from Luna Base Alpha, watching as humanity's preparation paid off. But victory wasn't her goal. As the battle raged, specialized sensors gathered data about the quantum signatures of the Void Runner ships. Each shot fired, each spatial distortion, told them more about what the mysterious attackers were running from. The solution wasn't to fight the Void Runners, but to work with them. Humanity's weapons expertise, combined with alien innovation and Void Runner knowledge, created something new. A defense network that could protect not just their galaxy, but reality itself. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Defense Station, watching as the combined fleet conducted its first patrol. Human gunships flew alongside Void Runner reality ships, their crews working together to maintain the barriers between dimensions. "We were right all along," she mused to the archivalist floating beside her. "Weapons aren't just about destruction. They're about protection, understanding, and responsibility." Indeed, the ancient being hummed. Your species' obsession with weapons wasn't a flaw. It was preparation for this moment. You understood something that many species forget. The universe is vast and mysterious, and sometimes the best way to maintain peace is to be ready for war. As the fleet disappeared into the darkness of space, Sarah smiled. Humanity's legacy wouldn't be as warriors or weapons makers, but as guardians. They had taken their understanding of weapons and turned it into something greater, a shield for all reality. The Void Runners had taught them that sometimes the greatest threats aren't the ones you can fight, but the ones you need to understand. And understanding, as humanity had always known, often came from the study of conflict and the tools it spawned. In the end, it wasn't humanity's weapons that saved the galaxy. It was their perspective on why weapons matter. Not as tools of war, but as keys to understanding the fundamental nature of conflict, protection, and responsibility. As Sarah prepared for another day of coordinating the Joint Defense Initiative, she couldn't help but appreciate the irony. Humanity had spent its history being judged for its relationship with weapons, only to have that very relationship become the foundation of galactic peace. The universe was still vast, still dangerous, and still ultimately unknowable. But now, thanks to the combined efforts of humans, aliens, and even former enemies, it was a little bit safer. And that, Sarah reflected, was worth all the preparation in the world.